Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking at Text Talks Battletech. This is going to be the Amaris Civil War. Now, oh boy, I don't really know what we're about to get into on this one, but I do know every goddamn thing in Battletech comes down to this moment. Everything that happens later is something of a knock-on effect of what we're about to get into today, and I don't really get what happens. I get that at least for the collapse of the Star League. I get that something about the houses Cameron, something about Kerensky. I don't know what we're getting into, mostly because I've actively avoided finding out because I wanted to watch Text do it first and didn't want spoilers from, canon. I realize how that sounds. That's weird. But I mean, me, so par for course. I'm weird. I realize that. And very much cringe. So we're just going to jump right in and see just what kind of fuckery is going to more or less shoot the inner sphere in the... Let's go with Dick. Yeah, let's go with Dick for the next couple hundred years. I don't know, but I'm kind of excited to find out because everything comes back to this. Even some of the Word of Blake stuff. And the more I find out about that, the more I'm like, oh, that's fucked up. Yeah, that stuff really is. So we're going to jump right in. You guys know the deal. Link below, original video. Hit it up. Text is pretty awesome. You guys know that. So when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let's get started. And they're still having, more lasers this time. I think there's actually more than even the last few videos. Or am I going back and this is the fight that made the last few videos kind of...
Hey folks, it's that time again for Text.
Remember 2Kid! There's a hole in the wall. I don't remember that happening. The blast I remember in Mobacho. Oh, and that's the guy from the cartoon, yeah. I've actually started getting notifications that they're available on YouTube for free.
Talks Battletech.
I don't know if I should watch them.
Your go-to source for angry, surly, whiskey-soaked Battletech and Mechwarrior lore.
Eek.
This time around...
Wait, what just fell? Sorry, like whenever someone puts in these little things, I love finding out what they are.
Mechwarrior lore.
Let's see, it was right after this. They shook the screen, they got some things falling in, and... Fiesta pail. Oh god. Okay, this I've heard this. It's an actual pail. I thought it was a map. No. I've heard the joke is it's like, here's taco stuff in a box, but then everyone it's like really more just like throwing up and then eating it again. Is how it's been described. I'm not sure if that was serious or not.
Discussing a major historical event. Well, truth be told, it's not just going to be a historical event. It's going to be the historical event. The main show.
Oh.
The death of Star League. Or more specifically, the Amaris coup.
Coup?
The Civil War.
Okay, one, I don't recognize some of these designs. Like, that is a very distinct design, and I don't recognize it. Like, I've seen a few of them I have a passing understanding. Like, this one over here kind of looks familiar, just different, but similar. What the hell? What the hell? Also, coup? I thought it was a civil... Oh. A coup that doesn't win but doesn't petter out becomes a civil war. Oh.
And its direct aftermath.
So what exactly happened?
This
also, cool
is
art.
the single biggest event in the setting by impact.
Wait. Go. Okay, one. Oh, there's art for Star League. Two. I just want to ask... Is this like just a superimposed piece of art, or is this one of those examples of mechs that are significantly larger than anything else? Because like here, maybe they're just further back so they don't look as big. But the reason this thing looks huge is because it looks like this thing isn't blasting it. It looks like it's stapling this thing down to the ground with this giant fuck off hands. And there's like a mech down here being crushed under it. Is it just... Yeah, it looks like his hands are so big. It's twice the size of this mech. Is this a giant mech? No, that was a hand. Was that a leg? Is that a foot? Is it stamping? I don't know. It looks huge, though. What is that?
Is the single biggest event in the setting by impact. Please do know it has taken tremendous time and extensive research to put all of this together and considering its overall importance on the setting.
Oh, they are. Very faint.
It's going to be a long talk.
And that's the symbol.
However... While there is a tremendous amount of information we have to cover, I may not be able to include every last minute detail.
He broke this into 2 parts almost at the 3-hour mark, and he's warning us in advance that this is not getting every detail. You know what? I'm not even going to make a joke here. This seems like such a dense time of history. It's like covering the entirety of the Civil War and everything else that happened in the 1900s. And when I say Civil War, I don't just mean the American. I mean every Civil War that happened anywhere in the 1900s. It seems like it's all kind of connected somehow. And I'm half joking about that, but also at the same time, the scope of this probably would have so many knock-on effects that multiple battles probably would be related, multiple other wars, and theoretically, you could kind of say every war is just a continuation of this somehow. Oh, I just noticed. Because this is when the factions break out.
So these, in turn, may be subjects
before,
that I may elect to cover individually at a future point in time. So fret not. This series has a lot of ground to cover.
Oh, that's a mech!
Get to everything.
Why is there a queen on it?
In the end, honestly, before I go on,
it's a weird mech.
The editor and I have decided to split this into 2 portions, as it is stupidly huge.
Yeah.
The research for this episode required a...
Wait, they actually had I'm sorry, did they? Oh, so they actually have in-universe promotional posters. Be all that you can be, Star League. And that makes sense. And it is the style that would be like late 50s, if not early 50s. Kind of like that technological future that, I guess, Metropolis movie style. I don't know what the actual style is called, but I know it's mostly associated with Metropolis, the movie, is the kind of poster this represents. Something that looks futuristic in the 50s.
This episode required
it's actually really cool because timeline-wise, it's the equivalent of it.
Note-taking,
in style, if not,
13
actual
drafts
time.
and many pots of coffee. So,
ooh, coffee.
Without further ado,
ooh, I like that fire jet.
We're good.
Okay, I just got to say this right here. This style of fighter is actually a really weird one because in terms of aerodynamics, when you're going super fast, these front wings actually would be sufficient. Yeah, that's probably not what I'm expecting people to hear me say, but this is actually a really cool design because you can tell this is more star-based than anything. So the actual mostly contained parts right here make a lot of sense. I'm assuming people are just going to tell me these are radiators. Sure, why not? Even though the folded section actually is a stabilization feature when you're actually doing air travel. But since it's a, Star League is probably doing these as fighters and they probably could do atmospheric descent, this makes sense. Yeah. I mean, depending on the technologies, maybe not so good at actual re-entry, but it could function. The reason a lot of planes don't do it here is because it's actually easier to get more control up here. Unless you have front-facing, not ailerons, but just the control panels, the control surfaces. This is actually a very difficult. Like you see a little vent right here. So it's actually venting here, and that probably would be for space when you want to just do some more nose-based movements. This is, the way this would work is in space, you probably vent here to control where you're going forward, and then this would be, oh, they have another one down here. That's actually really cool. You can see the vent points. Might be for heat, but also could work as venting just because any energy or matter dispersal moves you in space. So it theoretically could work on a very slow basis. But this actually is a design that could work in an aerospace fighter, specifically the aero section. So even though it's very much, this is what we think it's going to look like in the future, it could work, but it would be very front weighted. Specifically, you would be piloting with the part that moves the most, as opposed to right now where you're kind of centralized and near the front, but you're kind of controlling from roughly the same thing. I guess if you're very tied into the machine, which they kind of do, because from what I've been told, Battletech has a sort of mind access point. Clan does more of it in the current timeline, not sure during the Amaris Civil War stuff, or I know the Inner Sphere does it to a much lesser extent. You could do it because you'd be automatically running some things through your mind just on how to stay stabilized. This, though, would be your point of balance would be behind you where it looks like the cockpit's up here, and it really throws people off when flying. You get used to it if you're used to it, which is a tautology, but whatever. So it actually would function. It would just be very awkward in air because you'd be trying to pilot from the point of direction, not the point of turn, if that makes any sense. But it would actually function. It actually probably would do even better in space because this would present a better place for radiation. it's an interesting design, and I love how they actually incorporated these sections here, because you can see where it could either vent excess matter, excess energy, or excess, I guess, gas if you wanted to do a sudden evacuation to just move yourself in a certain way. It's a very interesting design.
Gonna talk history.
Sorry, I had to get into these little things. I love it. Mostly Golden Age? Oh, yeah, because they're kind of...
As with all histories, we're going to do our best to start at the beginning. To properly frame our history in this story, let us begin mid-26th century.
6th?
July the 9th, 2571 stands as the official signing of the Starleague Accords by Ian Cameron and the 5 major House Lords of the Inner Sphere. Keep in mind, this wasn't just an overnight development, as what we'd come to know as Starleague had slowly emerged from the treaties of mutual understanding in defense signed between the Terran hegemony, the Capellan Confederation, and the Free Worlds League nearly 2 decades before.
Oh, now that's actually very interesting, because I know there's the main 5, and I saw a few of them in the various pictures right before this. Terran hegemony, though, I don't recognize that one very well. Like, yeah, they're still around. I recognize the other models. I recognize this to be a Starleague, but Terran hegemony. I don't think I know this one. And I mean, I know there's going to be a ton of people in comments going like, Airier, it's obvious. And it's probably going to be something named Cameron. It's the only thing I can think of. But I don't know if that was here or somewhere else. I just know Cameron is an important name. It's really interesting, though, that it was just specifically these 3, because, really? Huh. Kind of surprised. Just because every time I see this logo, I usually see it with some kind of meme. Not like a Steiner meme. Those are just really funny in general. But really? Oh. What is the Terran hegemony, though?
By the late 2560s,
also, just 20 years to develop a alliance?
Commonwealth, Federated Suns, and Draconis Combine had also decided to buy in.
Surprising.
No doubt interested in all of the mutual benefits cooperation brings.
I don't know why they'd be interested in cooperation now, in this time period, but later on, other than Comstar fucking around, I cannot speak that. Cooperation, there's the word, is just such a foreign concept to them. I mean, maybe it's some kind of like historical heresy, holdover, from just all the shit that's about to happen here, but it sounds weird, because all the houses seem very much individualized before and after, and any time period you hear any reference of them. So I don't really get why they would cooperate here, other than the Starleague, but it sounds like Starleague wasn't really a thing yet to batter everyone into listening to them. What were the real benefits of it? Like, I'm just curious. What happened to make it interesting?
5 major houses elected Ian Cameron as First Lord.
Okay, so that's where Cameron comes from.
Wisdom immediately realized the need for a single-party defense apparatus, with the loyalty to Starleague placed above any individual house.
Smart.
While Starleague provided a single bureaucratic instrument to rule and coordinate a united human coalition of states,
bureaucracy too,
it needed something with actual teeth to keep the houses in line. Houses which often as much enjoyed the occasional mindless war against the...
This is what I meant. Why would they be interested in cooperation if Starleague wasn't around already to force them into it, and they were always fine with mindless war? What were they getting out of the alliance? Or is it just one of those things you just kind of like, oh yeah, that's how it happened, and we just kind of hand wave it away? Normally in a lot of science fiction, I would actually accept that. But Battletech is really damn good on having a tight, very believable lore, so I'm pretty sure there's probably some reason. I just haven't found out yet.
Their neighbor, because they were bored or frustrated.
The cannon looks cool. The side-mounted rockets look cool. The giant codpiece torso. I'm just saying, somebody knew exactly what they were doing, and they did it anyways. And they're just thinking, yeah, you know what would be really awesome? His chest is a dick. Yeah, you know someone had to have thought that.
The military arm of Star League was established
Such
as
old
the
mess.
Star League Defense Forces, and
I like
from
how the designs are more
inception, they were
simplified
laid
here,
out to be the greatest
as opposed to some of
military
the later ones,
force in
especially.
human history.
Just very bulky.
The Star League Defense
even more than later.
Forces, or hereafter SLDF, were initially organized
the military looks
into
a lot more
multiple
futuristic.
military commands spanning the entire inner sphere.
Hey, tanks.
Each
Don't see those
regional
often.
command would be made up of troops from varying member states in an attempt to, in theory, prevent blatant favoritism or, more likely, insurrection.
I just want to say that what he's talking about there, taking from different areas, that's actually a very Roman concept. And I mean, in setting, Star League essentially is not equivalent to ancient Rome, but there's a parallel to them being the golden age that fell apart because of things just going wrong. There's a lot more to it, but it's a various parallel. But the concept of pulling people and making them work together so that there's no one particular winner is actually a thing that it works, but another way you can look at it is hostages. Or specifically, you can't really take one at that point. Where if you had someone, it's a control exercise, basically. It makes sense. You get people from all over, and they can't really form the immediate bond to location, so they form it with their people who are from all over, so they can't really associate with any one house, which, again, it's basically saying what he's saying, but it's just a really good way to just on its own face psychologically indebt them to Star League because their bond is to other people. But there's going to be so many bonds to so many people from so many places that what they have in common is where they are now, not where they came from. It's actually a really good bit of psychology that could obviously not work if a few things go wrong. Like someone doesn't make those bonds and they still care more about where they came from. Or there's loyalties that supersede it somehow. Or money. I'm not sure which one is going to cause the Civil War, but I'm sure one of those is probably going to blow up in their dick. I regret having said that because now I'm thinking that I really, really wish I hadn't.
Further, loyal hegemony divisions formed the
Oh, those
core
are
of each
mechs!
command region's structure.
Oh, wait, are they on a ship?
Noble
That's a
in
ship!
design and practical in doctrine, the Star League Defense Force was a multinational military command with loyalty to Star League above all.
I'm sorry, I just realized what this... I thought it was just a random wall they were talking in front of. And then I realized that's mech legs, and they're huge. And then I realized what this is. This is like one of those giant drop ships. Look at the size of the freaking leg. Is that just a leg? I think that's just a leg per... And then you can see where it folds in, and the superstructure containing it, and... Oh God, Tex, you tease. Like, look at this thing. You just go from the small detail of the people in the background. It's like really cool. And then you pull, I was like, is that an entry ramp? It's the entry ramp. Compared to that, it's like a third of it. And then the mechs are right there and they're huge and there's so much more. It's like 7 to 10 football stadiums stacked on top of each other, including their parking lots to contain the mass. That's the word. I love this. Also, they're all different, but they're all very similar. They got the head on this one. This one's more of a torso thing. Has extra armor on the side. Actually, nice job there. Gun arms on the same side. Oh, dude. One of the things I have noticed, Star League era mechs, like the ones they mostly use, are very bulky. Instead of the hyper fibers that some of the later models have, like the Mad Cat, which I may or may not be biased to just because I thought it looked so freaking cool. I started collecting Battletech models because I found good deals on Mad Cats. Is it a good model? Yeah, it looks cool. I have no idea if it's actually good on the tabletop, but I got it.
For 500 light years in all
Oh, that's a mech still,
direction,
just smaller.
the Inner Sphere was a single, cohesive government, defended by the biggest military ever assembled.
What exactly were they
and
fighting other than
supported
each other?
by a vast and relatively efficient bureaucracy. The lords of the great houses
Probably
bought
anti-insurrection.
into the notion of the SLDF for no other reason
Money.
than it was power not in their opponent's hands.
Yeah.
In theory, it was, for the first time, a military that served the purposes of all. for the defense of all, and potentially allowed house militias and private armies to be a vestigial development of a more ambitious time.
And that's still part of the reason. Like, I know Tex is talking about this as the buy-in was you don't have to spend on it. But then he talked about previously, they were already into the indiscriminate warfare because this is something we do for fun because let's throw people's lives away because we might get some pissing points out of it. Is that the actual phrase to use here? Yes. Yes, it would. I have thoughts about that. It makes sense. I get it's basically how any house-based system works. You can look at most of human history whenever the individual clans, not to be confused with the Battletech clans, but clans of people are in conflict, but not open conflict, but mostly conflict. There's going to be basically pissing contests to see who has more, who gets what, just try and take back from each other. Wealth theft, essentially. And it makes sense. I just don't get why they would want to give up that level of power, because a lot of their entire thought process before and apparently after, well, reverse that, after and apparently before, was still, I got the biggest stick, I'm going to hit you with it. From a reasonable standpoint, yes, centralized military that will protect you and you are not directly responsible for upkeeping probably is a cost savings benefit. But everyone in charge of a house sounds some kind of believably stupid. Like, not stupid dumb, stupid not caring about the human toll as long as they get theirs, and theirs is power, prestige, and pissing contests. I don't, what are they getting out of this? And again, I know I've said this and I'm probably going to say it a lot. It makes sense, and I could see a lot of lower level people who are looking at the cost, I cannot speak today, and thinking, okay, this is cheaper, we get what we want, and we could probably trade and make more money. But at the higher level, I'm assuming, again, pissing contests. Am I oversimplifying this? I don't know. Maybe. But there has to be something else to it. Originally, I thought it was just going to be Star League badgered everyone in. But no, Star League came later. At least for the first few.
The first ambitious order of political business for Star League was to bring the...
Wait, Red Jack... Now get out. I thought I said fuck. I just put that myself. Red Jack Ryan. Is that a reference to Tom Clancy? Jack Ryan is like one of the famous characters in most of Tom Clancy's novels. Not all of them, but a significant portion, specifically his first one, Hunt for Red October, and some of the later novels as well. Nah, it probably isn't. This is, although that was an 80s book. This is an 80s, roughly. I really need to go look up if maybe that's a reference. Unless that's just something they put in here for text.
The Inner Sphere had always eyed the periphery with a healthy dose of fear.
Why?
After all, they'd long ago decided they wanted nothing to do with the Inner Sphere, and their fringe civilizations were a constant reminder that Starleague's authority was not all-encompassing.
Oh.
Humanity has had a long history of eyeing those on the fringes of civilization as barbarians at the gate.
Okay, and suddenly I understand what they got out of this. Because they were so afraid of what they didn't know in the periphery that the houses decide, you know what? Let's have the cheaper army we're not directly supporting do all the work for us if it's protecting us from the thing we don't really like. So we can go back to the thing we do like, being dicks and measuring our own potential. Let's go with that. It makes sense because the unifying force here is we're cheaper. We have probably good economic ties. And also, those periphery guys you're really afraid of, we'll take care of it for you. That actually makes more sense now.
And thus, Star League saw a military intervention as a necessary step to
that's a lot of
safeguard
skulls.
their borders.
What the hell is that thing?
New taxpayers.
They gave it teeth?
This campaign of reunification under Star League's control was largely a political move, as nothing quite brings allies together like good old-fashioned military adventurism.
Yeah.
Further, it would prove, in fact, what had been theorized as far as the capabilities
That
of
is
the
very
SLDF went. A titanic demonstration of Starleague's defense apparatus would practically unify the Inner Sphere under one rule, but it would also serve as a key reminder to member states.
Okay, this mech. You can see so many elements of later mechs in here, but this is super cut down. You can see the twisting element here. You can see the torso movement here. And the multi-jointed hand to give it some realistic human aspects. But you can also see how it has a cockpit up here that is very reminiscent of the Mad Cat, actually. But again, that kind of makes sense because a lot of clan tech is directly from Starleague. So it's just cool seeing how this old mech, and you can tell it's the old mech because it has that promotional poster aspect that a lot of the images techs have been using has for Starleague. It's just, you can see elements here of so many of the later mechs in this, but it's super simplified. It's super bulky. It looks honestly very stabilized. I like this. It's such an interesting choice of art because you can see where it leads into different things. The gun arm, of course, but the cockpit design, the hand, the guns. Actually, having these internalized is an interesting choice, but they have the divider in there to give a little extra padding between the cockpit and this. That's actually a really nice little touch they added there. So many of the later mech designs just looks like they come from something like this. It's so cool. Great on the artist.
Starleague above all. Thus began what would later be called the Reunification Wars.
Did it work?
Or, from the periphery perspective, oh god, the Inner Sphere is invading because they need something to do. Holy shit, God help us.
Accurate, yeah.
By 2596, the Outworlds Alliance, the Magistracy of Canopus, Rimworld's Republic, and Torian Concordat were all brought to heed. These campaigns were not easy.
How many of them
as
started
the
to become
periphery
clan
saw
flavors?
this for
That
what
fish,
it
though,
was, a military adventurism and a large government's need to absorb lesser entities at gunpoint.
Tanks or
The
walkers?
periphery resisted as well they could, but they were not a single cohesive organized government like Starleague.
Yes,
And
the
as
chicken
history
walker.
will remind us, the strategy of divide and conquer works best against isolated civilizations with vastly different governments, cultures, and military capabilities.
Yeah.
Despite, in many places, a judicious application of scorched earth defense, the periphery was conquered under...
Okay, I just want to go back and check that out. This is a really cool look. Again, so many of the later mech designs are very clearly, I guess, aged back in this art. I don't know which one came first in art, but like the Digitride reversed legs. Underslung guns, actually, I haven't seen many of, so that's actually a unique take. But just all the guns on the top, the guns on the side where the shoulders would be, like, these are such interesting designs. And honestly, and this is the weird part, in terms of sheer practicality, this is probably one of the more likely to be built in modern human history terms of a vehicle. Not the underslung cannon, but this, specifically because it has large legs that are Digitried, so they're more stabilized, because it puts... Normally in a mech, they're non-practical because straight up and down legs, which a lot of them have, that's not really a very stabilized system. It's doable if you have a lot of work on it. It's like some of the Boston Dynamics robots have the capability of doing it now, but there's a lot of machinery being put in there, and they're very, very temperamental. This, though, Digitride basically lets you do something unique. It's like when you have a runner with an amputated leg and they have a replacement, it's usually a reverse bend like this because it can achieve higher stabilization and just more balance, especially when you have a bigger, wider section down here. I can't really see the foot, but because you see how it's starting and widening down here, you can actually see that happens. This would be a lot more stable because it could probably balance on either leg instead of having to require both at the same time. It's just a really cool design, especially since it's just big guns up there where it would be the most stabilized because it'd be right over the joint. The only part about this that isn't hyper functional and actually something that could probably be done would be the underslung cannon, because if that's not a laser weapon, if it actually has a mass propellant in there, the force would knock this thing over. Now, I mean, if it's a laser weapon and the backwards force wouldn't do that, yeah, that would work, yeah. But overall, I mean, if you're just trying to get around in a place where it's not something a tank could go on, yeah, this actually is very functional. No, I mean, a tank is probably better because it's lower to the ground, has less profile to shoot into it, and, you know, sure, why not? But this actually isn't a bad design as far as the mech goes. If you have things like a lot of roadblocks you have to get over, and you can't just bull rush them like a tank, or if they're just a little too big. Sometimes the legs like this might actually be a really good option. I could see this being a design introduced in not so much a main battle unit, but actual usage somehow in actual real life within anyone watching this' lifetime. Not this gun, though, at least not with the weapons we have right now. But yeah, I could see it. It's actually quite functional.
A judicious application of scorched earth defense. The periphery was conquered under the massed forces of the inner sphere. The vast industrial complexes of the inner sphere and the logistical capacity of Starleague overwhelmed the scattered and utterly unprepared periphery states.
This is what progress looks like.
The conquered periphery states were initially treated as occupied territories.
Oh?
Forcibly undergoing extensive reconstruction and integration at their own great expense, before being given non-voting status as a Starleague territory. The
that's a flaming city on the water.
And catastrophic infrastructure damage was so extensive that even nearly 500 years later, some periphery states would be far below pre-unification war levels of prosperity and economic output. And while most of the periphery accepted their new rulers for the time being, with judicious jackbootery being the alternative, some would solemnly vow to never forget, and thus began to plan for the future.
Oh?
You see, the periphery has always had a very...
Okay, now, I'm actually curious about this, because originally I thought there was a clan Diamond Shark, but, I mean, that can't be the case, because clans were from the Star League themselves, and I'm pretty sure the Diamond Shark was actually a development that happened when they were out there, because they weren't originally called that. It was like Sea Fox or something, and then the last person saw the last, whatever type of animal it was, get eaten by a diamond shark instead. People keep talking about this, and I only pick up half the things because my memory is shit. So I don't think that's what it is. Why? It looks very similar, though, unless there was something to the clans about this. Maybe I'm about to find out. He's
began to plan for the future. You see, the periphery has always had a very strong streak of independence, and by exercising its might, Starleague had confirmed.
Also, for anyone wondering, this symbol right here, it might just be a pie graph, but also if they just extend this a little more, that's actually a classical symbol for anarchy. A circle with the A, or like a delta, or a V, Victor, whatever, and the circle completes it to make an A. It's a very... Why is there a face? I know it's a mech, but that's really weird. They don't usually go into eyes like that. But yeah, that's a very classical symbol. So I'm assuming this is something on the periphery then.
Everything the periphery suspected about the inner sphere proper.
Why are there lips?
Nothing more than conquerors intent on ruling by force alone.
What?
By flexing its immense military might, Starleague had brought mankind under a single banner.
Oh, that's not a mech. That's a person with
government,
a really weird suit.
A single bureaucracy, and all that entailed. By conquering the periphery, Starleague's defense force had demonstrated the value of Starleague to its member states. Through the 2600s, Starleague kept the peace as best able. It kept unstable member states mostly placated, and through every available means kept disagreements and conflict more or less hidden. That in mind, incidents did occasionally happen, such as the Hidden Wars, but well, that is potentially a subject for another time.
Hidden Wars? Okay, that sounds... Usually when text goes in, he'll, go into it. And he did mention early on there's a lot of things he's not going to touch. And I'm assuming this is one of those, but when you say something like, oh yes, there were hidden wars, that is a big red flag of, hey, this is probably important, which I'm assuming will eventually be a bit, like maybe a video on video. I don't know. There has to be more to it than that. Was it the setup for this? It's probably a setup for this or something later.
Public funds toward research and development. It is during this era that new technologies further expanded the power and reach of Starleague, such as breakthroughs like the HPG network, which allowed for rapid communication over vast distances.
Wait, they didn't have that before?
The prime circuits of the Starleague Communications Net, or SLComNet, were laid at the heart of the Terran hegemony in this era, forming the hub of what would become an inner-sphere-wide HPG network. For the first time in human history, mankind could shitpost across the light years with minimal effort. It was an enlightened era.
I would disagree. Mankind has always been very capable at shit posting across the network, or I guess across the galaxy, mostly because with how system delegation works, radio signals just don't stop. They just keep propagating. So there is almost certainty if we ever discover fast light travel, someone will go out into space and get the first time someone ever sent a radio wave with a shit post on it, and they will receive it, and they'll look back and go, oh dear God, the past was a mistake. And that's going to happen. Probably a lot, because if someone goes a little further, they'll get it as well. And it's going to keep on happening. Yeah.
With the power of FTL communication, the reach of Starleague extends
So it is actually
more easily
FTL
into the
communication.
day-to-day bureaucracy of running an
HT is
interstellar
probably
government.
no, that's HP
Further,
version.
international commerce flourished during this period as accurate information regarding market economies throughout the Earth's
How were they
sphere
doing before,
assisted the vast growth of industries throughout Starleague.
You think that would be something that would
But
happen
FTL
before Starlink, though?
communication was only one tool in the arsenal of Starleague's vast bureaucracy. To further combat the threat of instability within Starleague, the SLDF was built up massively for the first time since the reunification war.
Oh, it was not built up again?
Breakthroughs in technology allowed for the rapid evolution of Battletech design, warship capabilities, and accordingly, force projection capabilities.
Shit.
With a strong policy toward Starleague first, the Royal Regiments of Starleague would receive massive technological
because
upgrades
Cameron.
and breakthrough technological advancements first, with new technologies reaching those house units sometimes as late as a decade later. House Lords put up with this.
I mean, yes, a decade later is a lot. On the other hand, okay, I was going to say, considering how long some of the mechs last for, their tech is pretty damn solid. But this would be so early on. The idea of it being a decade is kind of like, I mean, it'd be like technology now. We don't really build technology that lasts, so a decade feels absurd. Starleague built shit that lasts, though. So yes, it's a decade, but it's going to last a lot longer. Although they might not have been aware of that, because it sounds like they were just new enough where the newest shit was still the shit. That is a really horrible, horrible way to describe that, but it's also accurate. I don't like that.
Because none of them could gain access to favorable technologies before the other, and thus the balance
Everyone's
of
fucked
power
over equally.
was maintained. As well, during this time, massive space defense systems were built up across the hegemony worlds, consisting of
Look at
advanced
all
drone
those
battleships, enormous battle stations at jump
Why do
points,
so many
and
of them look like sperm
ground-based
cells?
space defense batteries, all positioned to make assault into the heart of Starleague a theoretical impossibility. SLDF fleets were massively upgraded with the latest in all
Fleets? Oh, it wasn't just a ship here and there, like a
and
warship.
command and control technologies, allowing fleets to rapidly respond and counter any threat to the state with overwhelming firepower. Starleague fortresses were built on hegemony worlds and later throughout the inner sphere to act as garrisons. Research and development centers,
I guess they were probably torn down
command
and
and
nuked later
control
on.
points, and weapons caches. Starleague academies for science and military training were established to provide the very best education to an ever-expanding government.
Okay, so he's pointing out the entire thing about how, yes, this is a combat photo of the Mackie, an actual combat photo of a Mackie, and they'll cover it later, because the Mackie is one of the later videos, yeah. But more importantly, why does it sound like the Mackie in combat is something of a joke? It's probably an in-joke that I'd realize if I had actually watched the Mackie video first. I'm not going to go back and do that because I want to know what the hell's going on with Amaris. It's more at this point, everything comes down to this, so I want to know what's going on.
Government. That's not to say there weren't challenges or problems.
Like,
During this time, a second hidden war between Kurita and House Davion nearly spilled over into greater conflict. It was
Kurita has always been a bunch of dicks. Yeah. Okay, so when he meant hidden wars, I thought he meant with the periphery, like states that were there and strong enough to resist, but no one actually talked about it. Apparently, he meant hidden wars between the houses, which was my entire thing earlier, where they were a pile of dicks, and I wasn't sure why they would stop being piles of dicks. The apparent answer was no. They didn't. They still were. That was a thing. I'm actually not surprised. It actually makes a lot more sense.
was only put down when
Also,
Starleague deployed 5 elite
anyone else think that
divisions
looks
to
like an
break it
astronaut
up.
just
This
stomping down?
heavy-handed force shocked the Great Houses, as before this point Starleague was not something that openly visited its wrath upon member states.
Oh, so they didn't...
As far as the Great Houses saw it, Starleague was their tool, and something to keep the periphery in line, not something that could.
I'm sorry, what?
And something to...
This chair has a boat throttle. Which means this is a command throne. And this is a guy doing something very stupid, and another guy going, "Why are you like this?" Because he put... And this is... I don't... You know, I want to say this is really stupid. But it's the kind of stupid I could see someone actually doing, and or I might think is really fun, as long as I don't think about it too hard.
Keep the periphery
Yes, let me get my
in line,
battle throne.
not something that could or arguably should check
Bitchin'
their
mustache.
ambitions.
Yeah.
After all,
Yeah, the
they
mustache is
bought into
bitching.
the
That is
central
a...
government for their benefit, not to have their own ambitions checked by it.
Okay, one. Yeah, this was the wake-up call where they realized, oh yeah, they work for us up until we don't work for them. 2, I love the framing of this image. Like seeing this mech here. Like this is one of the classic ones that everyone, I mean, I've still seen a bunch myself. But like seeing this guy in his battle throne, it looks like, oh, you can see how this opened up. So it's probably in a ship and it's actually, oh yeah, that probably raises the knees because you can see where they interlock. Yeah. Cool. But also just the framing of how close he is. And then this thing and the difference looming over them and slightly leaning forward to make it look like it's not active. I love the framing of this image. It's so cool.
As well, in this era, the periphery was beginning to chafe under the yoke of Starleague.
Wait, they weren't chafing already?
Some military observers began to report of military build.
No. What the hell? Look at this guy's face. He does... I assume he's being shot by this line. No, those are just on the ground. These are guys just waving them along. That's just his face. His face looks like someone decided, hey, do you want to be really funny? Let's shoot you in the dick. And then make you walk around because you'll survive it. Have fun. Like, literally, there's a lot of really weird faces in Battletech. There's a bunch that look, classically handsome. And then there's... I don't even think that's a mask. I think this guy just has a really fucked up face. Oh my God, what? No. I thought that, like, Word of Blake techno zombie was bad, and it was, but then this guy looks like someone had an experience with a nuclear blast and survived, but only by the lack of skin on their teeth. Also, the phrase skin of your teeth. If you're growing skin on there, you should see a doctor. No.
Build-ups in the periphery that could rival the SLDF if given enough time. At this point, the only notable periphery power that openly supported Starleague was the fantastically wealthy and massively powerful Rimworld's Republic.
Oh?
It is a fact that SLDF observers reported that the Rimworld's Republic forces were potentially, at this point, as far as they could determine, 2 or 3 times their allowed mustered strength under SLDF charter.
Why don't they just try and buy them in?
That the Rimworld's Republic
because the House
would
never accept
military and supporting industrial base for generations for the purposes of open war.
Okay, I recognize this as a Black Knight because I might have just bought one. It looked cool. But what is this? It looks like a ship? It's very bubbly. I can see the gun, I think. And then open... this is a very... Okay, 3... Oh yeah, 6-legged alien. Oh yeah, alien. Cool. But this is really a unique thing here. I guess bubble drops are just a thing. I saw, like, when you have the... Not drop pods, but like the drop, oh my god level ships... For the mechs, okay, sure, that's how you get through re-entry, that's cool. But then you have this, and all I can say is, this is actually a really unique ship design. because it has all the bubble aspects, it would probably bleed off heat. You can see it's probably mass produced. It almost looks like they have the base level ship, which is that circular section, connection point, and then they can just slot in whatever they want over here. It's almost like a modular build your own ship and or base. Yeah, because you can see where it enters. You can see there's a connection point right here if they wanted to like leave this open, but it also closes down to connect itself in and close itself. Huh. Such a really cool design for a base and or ship. And yeah, you can see where it crashed down because they put the indenting on the ground. Also really good art. This is really cool. I really like this. Unironically, this is such a unique design for a landing craft or base that I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen more of it. Usually when you have this like just straight up bubble, like a sphere. Hey, we got the air in here. Yeah, we're good. And this kind of follows along with that, but it has external parts you can see almost look like they're mounted into it. That's just, I'm more surprised now that I haven't seen more of this type of design because it's cool, especially with the assembly bay for larger items that need to come out here that wouldn't fit through here, or if they need to just open it. Giving it multifunctional aspects. This is just a really cool design. Great job on the art.
Tragically, this warning went largely unheeded.
Is that a ship? And that was the end of part one of the Amaris Civil War from Text Talks Battletech. And I like this. I like how even some of the questions I had about why they're all getting together, because they're all kind of pissing contest dickbags. And the answer was because they're still going to find each other. They were just doing it hidden. That is important, apparently. The first time around. The second time around, Star League was like, no. And I love that because that shows the obvious seeds of resentment that'll come up later because, you know, everyone wants to be the one in power. So they're probably not going to find it nearly as hard to save it. I'm assuming that'll play into it later. I love how they just mention, yeah, that RimWorld Alliance. Yeah, they're going to have a lot more than you thought. You should do something about that. They don't, though, which is funny because it's probably during a part where they're not being militarily adventurous, which ironically, if they had been at the time, probably would have stopped whatever is about to happen from happening because they'd be like, ooh, a fight. Let's do it. Which might very well neutralize whatever's about to happen. I don't know, because again, not looking into future, or I guess past future events. Timeline's weird when it's already down already. Yeah, this is cool. I like seeing how things are coming together. I like seeing this is going in, and I want to find out more about what the Earth hegemony is, because I don't really know what that is in the future present. Technically, that is the accurate term. The future that is present now, but also in different eras of Battletech that this is all based on. Does the hegemony change names, or is it just kind of absorbed by Comstar? I don't think so, but I could be. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't. I don't know. As many as questions as this is answering for me, how is Battletech forming? It's just showing me I need to know more, and I kind of love this because Battletech has such a dense, rich setting that has so many, honestly, well thought out parts. No one's too smart. No one's too dumb. Everyone makes reasoned choices that reflect where they've been through in the lore. And it makes sense. Even the dumb things are dumb because of explained reasons that you can understand, if not agree with. And this is just seeing that initial step that everything else is set off from. And basically what I'm doing right now is going on an entire binge of this is lore that is good and well written and solid for literally more than 40 fucking years now. And I love this. Again, I know I frequently talk about it, but I come from 40K before doing Battletech, and 40K's lore is you get the bits and pieces and then we'll fudge around the edges, and the edges are very, very big. It's like 90% edge and 10% this is what actually happened. And you're not actually sure about that 10%. Where Battletech is, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. Here's when it happened. Here's who it happened to. Here's exactly why they did it. And the knock-on consequences. I cannot speak today. Consequences. There you go. Fuck. The things that happen afterward based on what happened before. There we go. And here's what led up to that with earlier consequences. Oh, now I can say it. It's just so well written. So well plotted out. So well thought. I just love this. Even just the design of the mechs showing features that were incorporated into later mech designs that have become iconic, even beyond just Battletech. I just really love this. So if you haven't already, link below, original video, hit it up. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And if you jump on a Discord, I'm getting into Mega Mech because people have, actually they didn't badge me, I asked, and people gave me links on how to start it. And when I fucked up how to download it, they gave me links on how to unfuck it up. Thank you again for that. It actually did help. Yeah, I need to fix that still. All the same. Thanks for dropping in, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.